of Masonic ritual in the Blue Lodge is what is called the Hiramic legend, the legend of Hiram. And this forms the main body of what a Master Mason candidate goes through. After he's done the oath, after he's, had the usual stuff done to him, he's made to go through a ritual ordeal, acting as Hiram Abiff. They blindfold him, and they tell him that he's going to take the part, now listen to this, of the greatest Mason, if not the greatest man who ever lived.
He was a master builder. He was a Mason.
Now, I'm sorry, this guy is just a footnote in the Bible. And, Jesus Christ is greater than he is, for sure. Moses is greater, for sure. David is greater. David is a man after God's own heart. Abraham. I mean, for all we know, this Hiram wasn't even a Jew. He wasn't even one of God's chosen people. But yet he's the greatest Mason, if not the greatest man who ever lived.
Well, the story goes that Hiram Abiff comes to Israel, and he's in the temple that they're building, and he's worshiping in the Holy of Holies place.
So you're blindfolded, and you're being made to act the part of Hiram in a ritual drama. And you're led around the lodge by a conductor, and you're stopped, and you're accosted by a ruffian, Jew below. He grabs the guy by the lapel, as rough as possible, and he says, "Give me the secrets of a Master Mason."
They ask for the master word. They want to know the name of God.
And Hiram says, "I cannot." The idea is here that the temple is nearly done. These guys are fellow craft, and they've been promised that when the temple is done, they will receive the secrets of a Master Mason so they can go and travel in the foreign countries and work and receive master's wages. So they are trying to get these from Hiram, and he says this is a most improper way to ask for these secrets. They can only be given in the presence of three: Solomon, king of Israel, Hiram, king of Tyre, and myself. And the guy says, "Give me the secrets of a Master Mason, or I'll take your life." And Hiram says, "I cannot, I will not." And then he strikes him, but Hiram manages to escape. And he's dragged further around the lodge to the senior warden station, where he's stopped again. And the guy goes through the same thing with him a second time. And then he manages to escape him, and he's dragged further, and ultimately he's stopped by Jubileum. And Jubileum asks him for the secrets of a Master Mason, and he says, "I cannot, I will not," and he says, "Then die."
And so they kill him, and they use this is where they use the square, and I hope you found what that is. They use a weight, and then they actually hit him in the forehead with a gavel, like a judge uses to hit.
And they smack the candidate on the head with a setting maul. It's made out of rubber. And they've got some guys behind him that are holding this kind of trampoline-like thing. And they knock him head over heels into this trampoline, and he's supposed to be dead. Then they go around the lodge and they bury him, because they're trying to conceal the fact that they just murdered the Grand Master. So they bury him in the rubble of the temple, and what that means practically is that they take him to a corner of the lodge and they dump a bunch of kindling wood on him. And then at midnight, they come in and they dig up the body, they carry it out of Jerusalem, and they bury it on a hill where there's an acacia bush, which is the Masonic symbol of immortality.
The next day, King Solomon comes, and he's looking because nobody's working. And he's wondering, where is Hiram Abiff? Nobody can find him. He was the man who was given the orders to all the workers to build the temple.
To make a long story short, the ruffians are exposed, and they find out that this Grand Master Hiram Abiff is buried up on this hillside. So Solomon goes up there with these fellow craft and with his colleague Hiram, king of Tyre. Not the same Hiram, this is a king. And they go up there, and Solomon says, "My brother, I feared the master's word is forever lost." Why? Well, because 1/3 of it was held by Solomon, 1/3 by Hiram, king of Tyre, and 1/3 by Hiram Abiff, and now Hiram Abiff is history. He's maggot meat. So what are we going to do? So they decide on the way to the grave that whatever words are first spoken upon seeing the body, those will be the substitute word. Okay? So they get to the body, and as they get to the body, they're all going like this, because it stinks so bad they can't smell it, because, as the ritual says, because of the effluvia which emanated from the grave. And this is partly where you get the Master Mason sign, is this, okay?
So then they go about trying to raise him from the dead. And they do that. They have 3 handshakes that they use.
So Solomon says, okay, let's try and raise the body with the grip of an entered apprentice.
The first handshake they use, you see how they use the thumb on top of the knuckle. It's called the Boaz.
So they try to do that, but unfortunately the flesh cleaves from the bones and they can't raise the body. So, okay, let's try fellowcraft grip.
Called the jackin. You notice the thumb there. I'm sorry, I can't reach over there. It's a little different. This is crazy. Shaking hands with a dead person. That's what they did.
So they use the fellowcraft grip, and again, the flesh falls off the bones, and they can't move the body because the body is so corrupt. So Solomon says, brothers, let's pray.
Ultimately, the Masons pray over him a prayer of everlasting salvation.
Then he says, I will now endeavor to raise the body by the strong grip of the lion's paw, the Master Mason grip.
So they tried the Tubal Cain, and he rose from the dead. That's what they say. Solomon was pretty cool, wasn't he? He raised dead people. These handshakes are still practiced today in the Freemasonry. A Freemason will know a Freemason by the handshake.
So he brings the guy up. Now this is the candidate, mind you. He's been laying there all this time. They raise him up from the grave and pull him into the 5 points of fellowship, which is basically foot to foot, knee to knee, breast to breast, hand to back, and mouth to ear. And then he whispers the secret new word of the Master Mason in the guy's ear. And that secret word is Mahabon. Are you all just awestruck with the wonderfulness and beauty of it? The translation will astonish you even more. You know what that means in Hebrew? Most Masons don't even know what the word means. It means in Hebrew, roughly, what? The builder? Because that's what they said when they got to the grave. They go, what? The builder? Because Hiram was the builder, you know. So that's the great secret of the Master Mason degree. The real word is lost.
I mean, this clearly is a pagan ritual now being performed by men throughout the world in their Masonic lodges.
So the Mason is made to believe he's Hiram Abif, he's killed, is then resurrected by the Masons there, he's given the various grips, the various signs to recognize himself with other Masons worldwide.
And after that man is raised up, the ritual says that this may be literally the raising of the candidate to his feet, but symbolically it testifies to Freemasonry's belief in the resurrection of the body and the immortality of the soul.
And what we're saying is there is resurrection, but that resurrection is not coming through Jesus Christ. So through whom is that resurrection coming? It's coming through the God of Freemasonry. This